here at Sandown, but he's fourth in succession. He starts alongside John Bow. What a juicy matchup once again from the front row. Gomersall and Bressington start on the second row. Hansford and Paul Freestone out of row number 3. Marcus Sukanovic is back in the field alongside Tony Karafalowski. And the two Tillys staying out of row 5, Richard Crail.
Father and son, that's going to be an interesting turn one. Bit of bragging rights issues there. Dean Lilly, who won the trophy race earlier today, goes from 11. Jim Policina, teammate alongside. Watch for Leo Tobin. He's involved in a championship battle with Jim Policina in the pro sports class in TCM. Rolling start, 10 laps. It's called the home of horsepower, Sandown. We're about to unleash some. The Painter-Dixon Touring Car Masters. Now, part of the issue this morning was they went too early on the rolling start because the control line this weekend is just at the bottom of shot there. You can see it right in front of the main grandstand just before the end of pit entry. So they've got to wait before they push the go button. They have. They're green. 10 laps of TCM is underway.
They fan out, particularly down the inside from Lilly, who picked up the win in race number 1. The trophy race is into turn 1 they go, side by side, and he stayed up on the curb. A fair bit of respect going on, and some raindrops already on the lens down here at turn number 4. Oh, spin in the background for Fisher.
Andrew Fisher, who had massive dramas yesterday, started towards the back of the field in 18th position. Changed an engine overnight. He's got some work to do. So these cars do run it's a 95% slick, slight grooves in them. So if it rains, it's going to be really, really dicey. No one starting on wet tyres in this race. The track is bone dry, and we saw that during the ECB Super Yachts race. The Amarok drone cam showing us a great view over the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne. Johnson leads Bow on the run down to Dandenong Road for the first time. Cold tyre pace of the Tirana should be pretty good. Horsepower's its biggest issue, 5.8 litres in the Mustang compared to the 308 Chev, 304. Essentially, 5 litres in the Holden Tirana's just behind.
And already the Tirana is menacing the back of Johnson. Gomersall back in 3rd position with Bressington. Tony Karafalowski is in 5th position, and Paul Freestone. As they come to complete lap number 1 here at Sandown International Raceway. The usual suspects are out in front.
They're driving due west at the moment, looking towards this massive front that's coming towards Sandown Raceway that we think is going to drop just in time for the co-drivers to enjoy. You can see which way the wind is blowing as well. Tirana's 1, 2 and 3. Jason Gomersall was a little bit frustrated that he missed out on grabbing a front row slot at the end of qualifying. John Bow just edged him by a few hundredths of a second.
It's a spooky shot, isn't it? Looking towards the west here at Sandown International Raceway. We settle into a groove here on lap number 2. So Johnson, Bow and Gomersall are about 2 seconds clear now of Bressington. Here they come down the back straight, and Bow not close enough to make a move, and very brave if you want to try around the outside down there at treacherous turn 6.
And it's very important for Stephen Johnson to win races. So there was an 18-point margin in the series coming into this weekend. 5 bonus points for pole went his way, but there's not an enormous difference. It's 60 to 56, a win to 2nd place in terms of championship points in each race. So you can win, you're not actually clawing that much back. So it was really important for Steve to get some points back and keep this championship battle going on. It really is intense between the two of them, and he's won a lot of races this year, Stephen Johnson, but Bow's consistency has been what has worked in the favour of the Wilson Security Tirana.
Somebody fanned out nicely. It was Lilly that made the move, probably in the wrong side of the yellow line, but almost traded some paint with the guardrail on the left-hand side as everybody hustled for position. Some in the rows of 2 run through turn number 1.
That's an out-of-bounds call. That was out of bounds, and that was Fisher spearing off the road.
Now, who gave him the contact? Because he was back there with
quite a bit further back. Well, it was Al Belgian. So Belgian in the Mercury Comet had a big tank slapper in the same moment. And a tank slapper in that car lasted about 50 metres because it's so long. And that's what caused the contact. So nothing the fault of Andrew Fisher here. This on board the Jesus Racing GDHO. Yeah, so that doesn't show the slide that Belgian was having. He was out of control. And unfortunately, it was Fisher who was the unwilling recipient of a punt from a Mercury Comet.
He'll be hoping 2018 comes to an end pretty quickly. It's been a disastrous year.
He will. I think he'll be looking to Mount Panorama, though. And you know the old adage that you can have a terrible championship season, but if you win Bathurst, your year's all right. I think Andrew Fisher will be looking to the mountain when TCM gets there in a month's time and try and have some success up there.
Now, it's great. My year started in October. I did really well. But what about January, February?
Move on.
Through they come. Lap number 4, just like that. There is Bressington and Ryan Hansford. a bit of a quiet run so far in the multi-spares Tirana prepared by Peters Motorsport. Down into turn number 1 they go as it continues to get darker here at Sandown International Raceway.
But while it may well rain soon, right now this track is very fast. Stephen Johnson's just broke his own lap record. Set last year, 1:15.41. Takes 2 tenths out of it. We watch the battle for 4th and 5th place. The VDC.com.au White Line Racing 69 Camaro of Adam Bressington, dicing with Paul Freestone. And in there's Ryan Hansen. Freestone just in behind. Hansen splitting the two. Multi-spares Tirana looking racing.
Bressington, who picked up the trophy race on the streets of Adelaide early this year, went on to win another race at Winton. And Ryan Hansford, who collected his first win in the Tirana at the previous round in Townsville, ran a bit further down the field than we're used to seeing right now. It's still Johnson from Bow, 1.6 seconds. And that new record of 1:15.4 stands with still 6 laps remaining.
That's funny. I was talking to some of the guys in the TCM paddock yesterday. The supercar guys going, oh, turn 10, which is that little kink under the Penrite Bridge. Nah, it's nothing. It's not even a corner. These guys going, well, yeah, it is. It's actually a corner in a car like this with no aero downforce whatsoever, not massive tyres and 650 horsepower. Plus, they say it's definitely a corner. You're hanging on through there in one of these cars.
They feel it all right. There's Hansford heading down towards turn 2 and 3. So behind these guys, Karen Filosky, and here's Fisher limping back to the pits in car number 9. Unbelievably bad luck for this guy, and I think it's a gearbox issue.
I wonder if the hit to the rear axle of that car's just hurt the side of that car. So it's Johnson and Bow in front. Gomersall, Bressington next. Freestone, Zekanovic running 6th. It's a good battle in TCM.
Watching Hansford in the background of this shot. Behind the big mate Tirana, who's lost touch with the guys ahead now. And now has Bressington.
It's actually a timing issue on Ryan Hansford's car. It's not popping up on the timing monitor. He's definitely 5th place. Freestone just in the mix there as well. Bressington's, I think, in the same boat. So there's some timing anomalies going on. Those cars being timed manually, but they're definitely in the battle. This is 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Tony Karen Filosky is just in behind them in 8th place. Freestone was getting a little bit racy there, having to defend from Zekanovic in the XD Falcon, and meanwhile Bresso trying to get himself into the top 3, the 95 Camaro.
Meantime, Johnson and Bow now 5 seconds, give or take a couple of tenths, ahead of Gomersall. Here's Marcus Zekanovic, the highly anticipated XD Falcon, out there for action racing. A car that you and I have been watching, waiting, and so happy to see that car on the circuit. And great to see the Z-Man back behind the wheel of a race car, because over the years he's been the entertainer.
You and I and the rest of the world, it's been amazing, the build-up. There's a couple of them coming. The Zekanovic team has a 2nd car not far away from being completed. As Andrew Fisher leaves the lane, and saw as he drove into pit lane, looked like he was struggling to get 4th gear, and I wonder if there was some linkages bent or broken in that contact we saw with our Belgian at the start of this race.
So Hansford pushing along now.
Remember what I was saying about that corner being a corner at turn 10, and Bressington was hanging on. So this is turn 1. What's going on there? Brett Curran, Queenslander, Trans Am competitor in the Mustang, and sliding out wide in the Ranger Ford. Aaron McGill in the XW Falcon. There's Bressington. Catch, and that runoff saves another car. I've been saying it all weekend.
It's like an elastic band.
Treat. Good save for Aaron McGill. Oh, this continued on, actually. Sliding around a little bit more. Let's go to Kyla King in pit lane.
Just to close off on what happened with Andrew Fisher, the gearbox was stuck in gear, so they pulled him in. And I can also report that it is rather heavy showers in the lane.
Yeah, Keiko, we just got that from the top of turn number 4. Bow just went off the circuit, and we can see out of our window now, starting to get really heavy towards turn number 6, as we view from the Amarok drone cam. The cars speed their way down the back straight. Well, the conditions have changed now as you watch. The car's heading down towards turn number 6. Windscreen wipers are on. This is Ryan Hansford. This is only just hit in the last few seconds. John Bow had a little moment at turn number 4, and he's lost touch a bit with Johnson. The gap is out to nearly 2.5 seconds, nearly 3 seconds now.
This is really perilous, and we saw Bow off the road as soon as this rain hit. He was caught out by it, and Bressington really struggling. He's caught out even more. Bow off the road. Off the road. These cars are on slick tyres. John Bowers dropped it. Yeah, Sakanovic going through. That car was really good in the rain early on, but they're on slicks. They're not on wet tyres, and they're all scrabbling for grip. Race control will be monitoring this. There's 2 laps to go. They do have the option to flag the race early. It's a good fight going on for 3rd and 4th place. Bressington and Hansford having a really good scrap down here towards turn 1. At the moment, they're hanging on, but that's an enormous blow for John Bow. Off in the gravel trap while Stephen Johnson continues in the race lead for now.
It's drier, if I can say it, down here than what it is at turn number 10 and 11.
Drives relative turn, but I agree with you. They've got more traction here. Acceleration run up the back straight, so that's elevated Jason Gomersal to 2nd place. JB's going nowhere. Caught out by the wet conditions on slick tyres. No help from anyone. He's not moving.
Rare mistake, wasn't it, for JB, multi-time champion and chalking up his 1100th championship race.
So this was the first moment, Matt, down at turn 2. We just understeered wide, so that the rain had just hit at that moment, and he was caught out by it there first. And then this was around the other half of the lap.
No, just come in too hot. And the Wilson Security Tirana, a big sand trap waiting for him to rest in, and there he was, and going absolutely nowhere. Freestone was lucky to get away with this as Sakanovic went down the inside. So Johnson has 6 seconds to Gomersal now. Back to Bressington. Sakanovic on debut runs in 4th position ahead of Freestone. Cam Filowski, Jim Policina in 7th. The 2 Tillys and Mark King, after repairing that car in qualifying overnight, he runs in 10th place.
So you don't need us to tell you how the conditions have changed, but the lap times give a really good indication of how the track surface and the condition has evolved with this rain coming down. So not long ago, we were talking about Stephen Johnson breaking his own lap record, set it at a 1:15.41 on lap 3. On lap 8, he did a 1:26.7. So the circuit 12 to 13 seconds slower already. It's only going to get worse as this rain comes down. They are doing a super job keeping the cars on the racetrack in increasingly worse conditions on slick tyres. And how good is Ryan Hansford going? He's wearing a retro race suit this weekend. He's delved into the wardrobe and he fits into one of his old man, the late great Greg Hansford's race suit from the Alan Moffat Mazda days.
Wow.
It's very, very cool. Jump onto the Multispares Racing social media and you can see it. So he's really embracing the retro round concept.
It'd be hard to tell the difference, wouldn't it? Man, he's just such
With the helmet on.
Yeah,
scary.
Wow. Here's Johnson coming down to the final set of turns. Andrew Fisher ahead and about to go a lap down after jammed gearbox put him back in the pits, and that's the margin back to Gomersal.
This is now
2nd.
Yeah, fight for 2nd, Matt. Just drop back to the clutches of Adam Bressington. These cars stronger in different places. The Tiranas seem to be getting their power down really well in these dicey conditions. Kamara's got a bit more straight line motivation with that 350 Chev.
Balls out for the move down at the end of the long straight here into turn number 1. Classic Sandown move. Puts the 95 car up into 2nd position, but not without a fight as we start the final lap. Very dreary conditions here now at Sandown International Raceway. Lots more still to come.
It's bad down there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan Hansford loses it up on the curb, all on his own. He was up behind Jason Gomersal and Sakanovic squeezes through. He kept it running and he'll drive on, but he'll drop. Oh, he'll only lose 1 spot remarkably. Here it is.
Just the curb. He got the top of the curb, and that's it. RPM's buzz, and the Multispares Tirana spins himself.
Good job of getting to the clutch and keeping the fire alight. So final few corners for Stephen Johnson. This is going to turn out to be a vitally important race win, both in context of the weekend and indeed the broader championship, because he drives past his old rival, John Bow, the championship leader, buried in the sands.
Johnson comes out the final turn and wins for the 11th time in season 2018. His 3rd time here at Sandown, and that's a big boost to his Painter-Dixon Touring Car Masters Series points in 2018. And that was a feisty battle to the finish line in between Gomersal and Bressington.
Well done. Bressington gets him by a 1/10 of a second. Wheel-to-wheel fight for 2nd. Great drive.
Finishes.
Brilliant. And Marcus Sakanovic's going to finish 4th. So the first championship race for the XD Falcon finishes 4th. Hansford 5th. And Ryan just edged out Tony Karamfalowski by a 10th as they got to the line. And how's the next group of cars? So Policina was a 10th behind Freestone. King was 2/10 behind Policina. Jamie Tilley 6/10 behind Mark King. Really close to the bottom half of the 10, but it's a win to Stephen Johnson.
And nicely done too. 5 seconds roughly back to Bressington, Gomersall, Sukanovic, Hansford back in 5th position after losing. Didn't lose too many positions out of that. Karen Filosky was 6th at a Freestone. Policina, Mark King and Jamie Tilley completing the top 10.
Brad Tilley, the old man, was next, so he loses out to the boy. Dean Lilly 12th, Cameron Mason 13th, then Rusty French and Leo Tobin, Al Bougen, Mick Cannon, Aaron McGill, Brett Curran and Graham Alexander completing the 20.
Long way down the field to Andrew Fisher, suffering that jam gearbox early in the race. And John Bow, who spun himself out of contention here.